What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We're going to be talking through the NFL slate for Week 15. It's crazy because I had a really good week last week. I can't complain, but the last play was a little disappointing to me. Let's put it that way. Could have been a really nice 6-figure week. But it's been I think I'm at 4 or 5 weeks in a row. But after struggling in the NFL at the beginning, I've really it's really turned around for me. So I feel a little more dialed in, which is funny because everybody else sort of seems to be up in the air. I've been sort of holding off to make my final decisions a little longer than usual. I'm trying to do the same thing in the NBA, not get so married to my early ideas, but I do think it's good to have the early games, the early picks that you really like, because there's a lot that, what was weird to me last week was somehow by the time it actually ended up happening, everybody was sort of off Josh Allen. And by the beginning of the week, he was supposed to be, 20% owned. And I think that this is something, you can take advantage. What I'm saying is basically like, it is good to, in general, have your things more geared towards the later part of the day, the later part of the week with the way COVID goes and everything. But at the same time, there was nothing that really should have stopped Josh Allen from being popular last week. And I'm not just saying that as a results oriented because he put up 42 fantasy points, but it is something that we want to keep in mind, that sometimes these games that we think that they look too obvious and that everybody's going to be on them, they've kind of not been that way as we've gone through the season. So just something to look out for. Sheets, what are your thoughts this week? And yeah.
Couple of things about that. First of all, I did my usual. I made money in the NFL, not that much, like as usual. I make like 25% or whatever it is. It's kind of silly because I'm playing stuff that doesn't play that way. I'm playing like the Millie Makers and all this stuff, and it's just whatever reason I always just make like 15-20% on it with no sweats. It's really weird, but you know what? I had like 90% Antonio Gibson.
Oh,
so
God, that would hurt me
the fact
too.
that I made money with that, I'll take it.
Yep.
And the thing is, I think, and another show is talking about this, with Buffalo, is that whole game. We talked about this beforehand. I mean, when we did our early thing, where are people going to go with this? If they're going to have too much respect for the defenses, you have two good offenses and two great defenses, what's going to give? And one of the other shows, someone was saying, are people going to be afraid of the matchup? And they're like, well, you know what? I doubt it. I think people are just too sharp for that now. But you know what? I think people were. I mean, I think people didn't were a little bit too afraid of the defenses, and that's why these guys were not, as highly owned as maybe they otherwise could have. So that's, I think, the reason why. They still have, people are still would rather play teams against bad defenses than rely on the offenses. But that's that's that. Now, unfortunately, with this week, it's a little different because this week my top teams are almost all of them are just good offenses against bad defenses. So we'll see how we'll see how that goes. But let's get started.
Pull up the screen and we'll jump into game by game here because I think it's the best way to go for this time of the week. And let's see what we got here. Let me grab my notes. So to Dallas and the Giants here. First thought, Sheets, you want to take a shot on who wins this game? Well, on whether Giants cover?
Yeah, I think the Giants have given up, and I think that Dallas wins and Dallas is still playing for playoffs and seeding and all of it. Dallas has sneaky. They only have one conference loss, so they win like a lot of tiebreakers against those other teams that they're going to be fighting with, like the Cardinals, Tampa, Green Bay, and the Rams if they make a run towards seeding. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Dallas has an edge as far as that type of thing. And in any case, the Giants have given up. They're eventually going to go to Jake Fromm, and they're I think they're going to put up no resistance. And that's what you're going to see, I think, a lot in some of these teams as we go down the stretch. So Dallas is the first of the 5 teams that I'm going to identify. I do like them as a stack. I like and the thing is that even if the team might have a kind of a feisty defense or they try hard, eventually when the team gives up, the defense is, to me, usually the first to go. Because that takes the most effort is to play good defense. Mm-hmm. And the next thing it takes tough to do is also to protect your quarterback. So in any case, I do like Dallas. I like whoever's playing. I like Dak. I do like Zeke again. CeeDee Lamb, Cooper, Gallup, the usual suspects. I really don't have much of an interest in any run back, though, from the Giants. And this is going to be, unfortunately, my theme throughout a lot of this. So for me, Dallas is certainly good play, and, Zeke and everybody. I do like Barkley, by the way, on the numbers. Mm-hmm. So if I get to him, that's going to be okay. I just don't see the universe where he smashes. That's all.
Yeah, I kind of like him a little bit too, by the numbers. They did seem to want to get him in the end zone and get him back to, like, even when they were getting crushed the other day, they were playing him a lot in those garbage minutes. And thank goodness for me that they did, actually. So I do think that they're trying to get him going a little bit. He just doesn't look quite right, but I do think 6,500 against the Dallas is fair enough for as a run back. I agree that I think it's a good stack. I think the Cooper is my favorite. Just with the pricing and everything like that, and how much him and Dak have their rapport. Dak has looked off to me for a while now, so I'm not as confident in them just like trouncing them, which makes me actually kind of like their stack a little bit better. So I don't mind if you want to play both two receivers with Dak. I personally would lean to probably leaning towards, one of CD or Amari. I like both of them. I give the slight edge to Amari, but I think it's really close. And I'm with you on outside of Barkley. I don't really have anything I can do with the Giants until we hear that likely that 3 of their receivers are out, and then Pharaoh Cooper becomes the chalk of the slate or something like that.
P. Cooper.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, right. It's not, yeah. So I just think it's not it's not my favorite game, but I do think the Dallas stack is viable.
Okay, so it just hit me, by the way. I'm just telling you, like, the 5 teams I like were Buffalo, Rams, Dallas, Zona, and San Francisco. We're gonna get to them, but it doesn't even matter because this next game wins all the cheese.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it just totally hit me. Okay, so this is what I was thinking about. So I'm looking at this because I was looking at my running backs here. I looked at Zeke, I looked at Barkley, whatever it is, and then I looked at James Robinson, right? And I'm like, okay, like a couple of weeks ago, he played. It was against Atlanta, whatever. I think he might have fumbled. Is that where he got benched or something? I don't know. He was at the Rams, totally uncompetitive. I mean, whatever it was, they got shut out by Tennessee, 6 no shot. He was injured a little bit before that. I mean, I don't know. I think he's a freaking smash here. And with that said, I mean, I had like kind of written off a couple of one-offs here, like Chenault, Treadwell, whatever it is for Jacksonville. And why not just freaking just go for this whole game? I don't know. So that's gonna be my early 12:25 p.m. December 15th Wednesday call is Jacksonville Houston runs this shit. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna play Trevor. We're gonna play Chenault. We're gonna play James Robinson. Now we finally get to use Cooks. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's gonna be my hashtag terrible take, I guess. Maybe it actually picks up some steam throughout the course of the week. But that's my, and I really wasn't even thinking of talking about it, but since it's an early look and I could change my mind, that's what I'm going to go with right now. Is Jacksonville will be the off the board Millie Maker play. What's his name? Cooks is a run back. James Robinson, at the very least, I think is a perfect. I think this is like the only opportunity he's had to really do anything in the last like 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a good opportunity to do it. So Robinson, and then the whole Jacksonville offense, Cooks run back, and whatever. It's the Millie Maker, so you can't be wrong.
Yep, I love the Robinson call as of early in the week. He's one of my favorite plays, and I like Cooks. It's really hard right now because Urban Meyer is such an idiot. Like, I mean, it's not. First of all, I think he's going to be a genius coach. I think he's looking for college jobs probably right now. And I think any college would be smart to hire him because he's obviously proven that he can win anywhere in college. What he said about the assistant coaches and the team all hating him, like it's really hard to want to like invest in these teams. If there was ever a spot where Trevor Lawrence was going to win somebody his money this year, it would be this game. But I don't know. I do think the over is kind of an interesting bet separately. It's very strange to me to see Jacksonville as a 3.5 point favorite over anybody after they've scored a total of 6 points in 2 weeks. I don't know. I personally like Houston to win this game. I like Cooks, and I like Cooks and I like Robinson for DFS. I think Jones and Chenault are both viable. I'm probably going to be light on it unless I want to make a Trevor Lawrence with Robinson kind of a stack, and then I can pay up. One thing I did last week that I wanted to mention as a strategy that I think something I've done in the past a little bit more is trying to use my quarterbacks with one receiver, or maybe making a skinny stack using a cheap quarterback with a cheap receiver or something, or even a good quarterback with one receiver, whatever. But then playing two receivers from the same team without using the quarterback, and it can still work out in certain cases. The Niners are the best example because they give guys like Kittle so you get some rushing attempts. Ayuk gets some rushing attempps. Deebo Samuel. So that's the kind of team where I tend to try and double stack without using Garoppolo ever, because I never play Garoppolo. And this feels like a game where I could see myself using, maybe Chenault and Robinson with Cooks on the other side, and either skipping or possibly playing Trevor Lawrence in that. It just feels so nasty to play a team that literally hasn't shown any ability to move the ball against anyone. So that's my only fear. And my other fear is that Jacksonville's defense, I think, is a little better than their offense is. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. All right, you ready to talk about Tennessee and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, here's another one. Let's have some fun with this one. So first of all, I do like Najee Harris on the Pittsburgh side of things. And I actually like Pittsburgh to win this game if that matters. Tennessee's been, they've been doing well, but they've been playing, they had obviously an easy game last week. They've been just basically trying to survive with no skill players until AJ Brown comes back. Julio came back and did nothing, right?
Right.
And I was sweating that game from Survivor, and I was like, some of these guys are catching balls. I'm like, thank God Tennessee was playing. Like I say, Jacksonville just couldn't do anything, and Tennessee's defense was hanging in there, but it was doing well. But I do like Pittsburgh in this spot. Deontay Johnson, I don't know if I could stack the Pittsburgh too much, which is kind of weird because one reason I don't want to stack Pittsburgh is because I don't really know who I'd play from Tennessee if AJ Brown's not back. And so I like Najee Harris, I like Deontay Johnson, and I like Pittsburgh to win the game.
Yeah, I kind of like Pittsburgh a little bit, which makes me like Julio Jones, actually. And part of the reason he did nothing last week is they had a very conservative game plan and didn't really need to do much because you had Jacksonville who couldn't move the ball 10 yards. So I do think in this game, you're going to have a little bit closer. So I think Julio Jones, you could see him with double-digit targets potentially. And obviously that's going to have some interest for me. I think Deontay Johnson is always a good play, and Chase Claypool is always a good long shot play. But I think I would lean towards just playing Johnson and Johnson or Harris with Julio on the other side. Not necessarily the best plays in the world, but I do think Deontay Johnson, I mean, if you watch Pittsburgh, like they're going to get him the ball in so many different ways. It's like Roethlisberger's limitations actually lend themselves to his skill set. He's had double-digit targets now 5 weeks in a row. Really hard to just ignore something like that, even though his price has come up. So I really like Deontay Johnson, and Brown would be my favorite. Then Harris would be the next guy for me. I'm sorry, Jones would be my favorite, not Brown.
Arizona at Detroit. I mean, Detroit, if their season wasn't tough enough, they also got some COVID problems last week. They weren't really able to field all that much of a team. Coming off of that, their last second win, they were very destined to have kind of a letdown. I'd like to think they can stay competitive here, but I just don't see it. I think Arizona, especially coming off of the loss, are going to be really motivated to get this done. And Kyler and look, Hopkins, he dropped one. He wasn't the best, but I think that this is a very prime get right spot for Arizona. They could pretty much do what they want against Detroit's defense, and I think they're going to flex a little bit here. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know who's the running back's going to be for Arizona.
It's going to be Connor.
What's that?
It's going to be Connor at this point. I mean, if they're going to play Chase Edmonds, like even to pretend that he's their number one back or anything, they're out of their minds.
Yeah,
Connor's been the man for them.
Yeah, 9 targets, 9 receptions. I mean, he's obviously. I mean, if he plays at 6,400, I mean that's just got to be a smash play.
Yep.
And then Kyler Murray, and I do think that if they have the opportunity, they will try to get Hopkins 2 touchdowns. Because he didn't have such a great game. At least what I was watching, I saw him drop one. 12 targets.
Kyler missed him a few times. Kyler missed him pretty bad a couple times. Also, he had 12 targets.
Yeah, 12 targets, 5 receptions. I think that if they can do it, I think they will get him 2 touchdowns. That's going to be my situation. So, on the Detroit side, I mean, if you have to play somebody, it's going to be, I guess, Hawkinson or, I mean, is Swift going to be back?
I don't think so.
No, he's not going to. I mean, they just have nothing. I mean, they just have nobody.
They have nobody, and we don't even know who they're gonna like.
Yeah,
they just keep running these series of running backs out there, and
I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, maybe like Craig Reynolds is a guy who
Hawkinson is questionable also. Oh my
God. Yeah. Look, I think Craig Reynolds is your best play from the Detroit side, honestly. He had 11 carries last week. It's 4,300, whatever. It's not pretty. I don't think we need to do it. Just throwing it out there. But I do really like the Connor play, and I really like the DeAndre Hopkins play. Those are I just want to keep taking advantage of the price on Hopkins. I know we haven't had that monster game from him yet. I thought we were going to get it on Monday actually, but he didn't quite get there. But I do think that the targets. Kyler looked off in that game, looked a little shaky. I think he'll be much better against Detroit here in this one. The pass rush actually did seem to affect him a little bit, which also led to the dump offs to Connor. So I wouldn't expect Connor to necessarily catch 9 balls again. But I do think that he's going to have a big rushing game upside against the Lions team that can't stop anybody on the ground. So I don't even mind if you want to play both those guys together, but I really like both Hopkins and Connor. Connor will be a priority play for me, even if Edmonds plays.
Jets Miami. That's a rough season, man. You look, I clicked off both teams here, and I sorted my running backs. I mean, look at all this red here. I mean, not the Miami the Jets had, had Larry Zonka and Freeman McNeil anyway, whatever. But this is a train wreck.
Right.
I think it's going to be. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really low scoring game. I think that if anything, I guess the Miami side, Waddle 6,600. I don't think I want to play the other one, Parker. I don't know. I don't know who's starting for Miami. I just don't know anything. I'm probably just going to pass this whole game.
Yeah,
Miami defense. Miami defense. How about that? There you go.
Yeah, that'll work. Dokes. I don't know.
I don't even know what that is.
It's their running back, Jared. I don't know how to pronounce it. Jared Dokes. I don't know.
Jared Dokes.
Okay. And it would be a spot you want to try and take the running back against the Jets, as always, but it's really hard to find one to like here. I actually like Michael Carter on the Jets side. I think that he's got, even if they don't score much, he can get there in the passing game too. Like he can get some dump offs. He's also only 4,700, saves you some money. I think Jamison Crowder is a strong play. Makes me nervous to say it, but there's all their other guys sort of blend in like Keelan Coles, Braxton Berrios, and Mims. I don't know, but if the Jets are going to have to throw the ball, you could certainly see Crowder getting a lot of attention. So I actually think there's some chances to take here, but Miami's defense is obviously really strong, along with Arizona's from the previous game. I actually do like Devontae Parker. I think he's the one I would go with in this game. I don't think I would go with Waddle just because of the price, but I think Devontae Parker is a good spend down with upside. So that's what I would end up doing in this game is Devontae Parker, Crowder, and Carter. Those are my favorite plays. Maybe if we hear some coach speak about who the running back who's going to get the bulk of the carries, we can take a look at Miami's running back, whoever that they decide to use, but we don't know yet. All right, Washington, Philly, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll go right back to it. I'll go right back to Antonio Gibson and lose more money, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He's rated to be a great play. He's, he had was it 2 bad games in a row? Is that what happened? No.
One, right?
No, just last one. Okay. Did he get benched or something? That was something else. Yeah. So you know what? He had a bad game. He had a bad game, and even though it was 27-20, that game was, I think, more of a blowout. I think. I really don't think that he had much of a chance.
Yeah.
So I'll go right back to that. On the Philly side, I didn't get to much, man. I gotta say. So for me, it's going to be just Antonio Gibson or nothing. But I do have Antonio Gibson rated as like my best running back right now. So it's kind of scary, but that's where that's where it is.
Yeah, I think Goddard's one of the best plays on the slate.
Okay.
I'm going to go crazy with that play. I cannot believe a couple weeks ago his ownership. Like that was crazy. That game he put up like what he put 38 or whatever. But nobody played him, and I really like him as a spend up at tight end. And I like Gibson as well. I want to know for sure whether McKissick will be back, because McKissick does take away enough of the passing game looks where it would probably make Gibson less interesting. And then assuming he's good to go, I'll play Terry McLaurin. I just think I think he gets so much of the work in their passing game. Got hurt last week, and but assuming that he's back, I think that he's a really, really strong play and against this Philly secondary. So I'll take McLaurin, and I will take Goddard as my favorites, and Gibson being the other one. So
hey, just in case I forget, because there's just no way I remember this when we do this Friday or Sunday or whenever, is what you mentioned Goddard as a spend up, and we're going to get to Kittle in a minute. But I remembered writing down that a value play at tight end, and my favorite value play, and we went over the game already. I didn't remember this game. No, it's not P Brown, but it's worse. It's B Jordan.
Oh, Bevan Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have a hard time
to add to the terrible plays from the Jacksonville Houston game.
Right.
So I'm telling you, it's a type of week where I wish I could play freaking like 2 10K running backs. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in any case, just in case I forget or whatever. Okay. You want to move ahead?
Yeah. Let's move on to Carolina Buffalo.
Yeah, I think that Buffalo. I don't know what Carolina's defense is like nowadays, but Buffalo is 7-6, and I think they're gonna come out firing. I think they're gonna have a really, really big game, and I think that I like Josh Allen. I think I like Gabe Davis, super cheap even. Diggs is good too, but Beasley also. I like all of it. So I do like the Buffalo side as far as the stack goes, and I guess that means that if DJ Moore plays day to day, he'd probably be a natural type run back, or back to Mr. Pointy Hair here. Hey, look at that! He had 12 targets.
He was a monster last week, and I actually played him 10%. I told Rhodey, and Rhodey thought I was nuts, but he understood.
Finally, all right, so let's do it. I'm in. I'll play the Buffalo guys, and I'll play Robbie Anderson if need be. So I do like that a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird game. I got to see the weather before this one. It's Buffalo in December. Just keep that in mind. We saw what happened on that Monday night game. So let's just take a look at the weather before game time on Sunday. Assuming that everything is good and clear, I would play either DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson. I think I might actually prefer Robbie Anderson just because of how good Buffalo's strong, corners are. And Cam Newton, I don't have any faith in really throwing the ball as much. So I would rather play the cheaper of receivers if I was going to stack it. But I think my natural instinct would be just to stack the Buffalo side of this. I love Diggs. I love Allen to Diggs this week. I think that this is a get right spot for them. I do think Gabriel Davis, as I've been mentioning all year long, and every time that they like this guy a lot. And he's starting to show more and more opportunity and getting more targets in the red zone, which is really interesting. And 3,700, I think it's a good spot to take a shot on him, especially with no Manny Sanders. So I have it ranked Diggs, Davis, Beasley. I tend to like Beasley in the games like I did last week, where I feel like they're going to need to fight and try and do everything they can to move the ball and all that kind of stuff. And I tend to prefer Davis and Diggs, where I feel like they can put the hammer down on somebody. So that's just the way I'm treating this one. But I do like this Buffalo stack a ton. I think they do come out firing, and I think that you're going to see Josh Allen with another monster game. So you want a part of it, in my opinion.
I'll tell you what you could do, by the way, if you want to play narratives or whatever it is. So he had an ankle, Josh Allen. Sprained left foot, day to day. They said he's going to be limited. They're even having Trubisky take some of the snaps during, just to keep everybody sharp or whatever it is. I think that if they are in control of this game, or if they could avoid it, I think they might have Allen throwing the ball more than scrambling and running for himself. I think he might be.
Well, that's what they did last week. I mean, they didn't run the ball in the first half. They read one running play in the first half. Isn't that crazy?
I don't mean running play. I mean that Josh Allen is going to be, I don't want to say told, but I think he's going to not be as inclined to vulture his receivers' touchdowns. You know what I mean? I think that if need be, he'll try to get the ball out of his hands, as opposed to just trying to risk, especially in a game where they're going to be a 10-point favorite.
I agree with the thinking. The only thing I would say is that this is must-win time. They absolutely cannot afford to lose this game. So I actually like I think they'll put the hammer down big time. But you're right. Maybe right. Maybe in the way that you're saying. But I think they're going to do whatever they can, because they still are a Super Bowl contender. You don't give up those opportunities. So I really do think that they're gonna try their best, and I think they're gonna try to put the hammer down. I want to say that Carolina is a sneaky, weird team that plays people tough, at least. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win this game or anything. Cam Newton has lost, I think, 12 straight games now as the quarterback for Carolina, going back to whenever. And I don't even know that he's gonna end up being the quarterback by halftime. Who knows? But I do think that their defense is good enough to keep them in the game at least. And if they don't, that means Josh Allen's going nuts anyway. So no matter what, I like Josh Allen will be my number one quarterback on the slate.
Cincinnati, Denver, tough, really, really good game between kind of like two fringe playoff teams that are fighting for that, to be in the mix over there. Yep. It'll probably be a really, really small point spread, very, very competitive. And it's a tough spot for Cincinnati, even with their skill guys, to go into Denver like that. It's been like that it's been like that to go to Denver since I've been alive, as long as Denver's got the defense to back it up. And Denver's been playing very, very well defensively. And it's going to be a tough game, man. It's going to be tough for all sides. And Cincinnati's coming off a nice overtime game. I mean, they didn't, they lost at the end, but it's a good game played against San Francisco. I don't know where the fantasy production lies in this game. I like Javonte Williams as kind of like a, probably beneath the other running backs I mentioned, but I think he's certainly in play. I do think the Denver defense is priced really nicely at 2,900. But I don't know if I want to play defenses against Burrow. I think Burrow makes some good decisions. I think I'm going to end up avoiding most of it, even though, you know what I mean? Like, even though I want to play Mixon, I want to play Chase, I want to play Burrow, I want to play Devontae. I don't know. I just think it's going to be a good game to kind of like watch, I guess, if that makes any sense. It's got good offense, good defense, but I don't know from a fantasy perspective how much I'm getting here.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I certainly understand where you're coming from. I really like Jerry Jeudy this week. I'll jump back on that train in a game that is going to be competitive. I know he hasn't really put up that big game yet and probably been over-owned. I finally faded him last week, which was I'm glad I did. But I think Jerry Jeudy, and I think that Jamar Chase is like, as awesome as he is, you can't drop as many passes. Like he now leads the league in drops, and 3 of them have led to pick sixes, and 2 of them were in there. Were on plays where they would have scored a touchdown. So they were not 100-yard pick sixes. At some point, you kind of think, if you're Burrow, why am I not just throwing the ball to T. Higgins instead, or Tyler Boyd? I think there's probably some argument for some fantasy stuff in this game more than I'm talking about. I think Joe Mixon's a strong play still at running back at 7,200, and what's really a must-win game for Cincinnati and for Denver for that matter. I like Mixon, and Jeudy would probably be my favorite 2 plays in this game, with Fant being just behind them. That's where I'm at. So, Atlanta, San Fran.
San Francisco, Atlanta. So we get to my terrible play that I had like 10% of. I was such a genius that when Mitchell was ruled out, that I went and played James Hasty for San Francisco, and he got I think 0 catches. I think he got 0 targets, and he got 3. Oh, he had 3 receptions. That's what he had. 4 fantasy points. Anyway, San Francisco. I mean, it's just a little scary because San Francisco is one of those 5 teams that I want to target. And I know where I want to play. I want to play Ayuk. I want to play Deebo Samuel as pass catchers, but I'm with you. I don't like playing Jimmy G either. You want to know the truth? Yeah. But the real play in this game is Kittle for me. I mean, 7,500. It seems like a lot, but I think he can win. I think he can win this position rather nicely. But again, like with Deebo back, and you got 3, and with Ayuk kind of coming to his own now, you got 3 legit targets over here. So I don't know if I want to pay 700 for a tight end, but he certainly rates to be the best of all of them. So I do have San Francisco as one of the 5 teams I want to stack. I don't know exactly how I prioritize the receivers there, and I guess you're just supposed to keep playing, Cordell Patterson, I suppose. But aside from that, I mean, I'm probably not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, right. I don't need to do it against San Francisco, which is what makes, again, this week a little tricky, is because all the teams I don't really like any run backs.
Right.
But I do think San Francisco, against the Atlanta defense, they can, they can flex a little bit. But San Francisco's not like a flexing team, I don't think. They do like to run the ball. Whether it be with running back Deebo Samuel or running back Brandon Ayuk or running back, whoever plays for them this week. But I don't know. I do like San Francisco to put up points, and I'm going to have some.
Yeah, I'll have some Ayuk, and I'll definitely have some Kittle. Look, their resurgence has come with the Kittle like just taking completely over and just looking like the best player in the NFL. And they don't need him to block all the time. They can go out there and just make things happen on his own. Just give him a little dump off, and the guy will just create more yards after the catch than you can imagine. So I love the Kittle play. I'm going to try to make a priority to get to him because like you said, he can win the position by so much. I mean, he could win the position by 20 points. The only guy who I promise I'll do this again because I missed out that 1 week in my big lineup at my 555, which would have put me like in the top 10 of the millionaire 555 one. I played Mitchell. And then I left it in my other one. I left I had Goddard in my first tight end, and I in the other millionaire, the million person one where I finished like 100 and something, I played Kittle and Goddard that week, which was just a monster week. It was like 80 points between those guys almost, or 75 or whatever. But anyway, I like Kittle here a lot. I like Ayuk a little, and I don't really think I have a bunch from Atlanta that I want to do. It's one of those weeks where I don't feel like you need to have the run backs as much, at least in the games we've talked about so far.
Green Bay, Baltimore seems kind of odd to say this, but Lamar Jackson being one of the top running quarterbacks from a fantasy perspective in general, and Aaron Rodgers being one of the best quarterbacks ever, in general, and Devontae Adams being one of the top wide receivers maybe ever, certainly this season.
Yeah.
Except for the one time I needed him. As weird as to say, I don't really have a lot in this game. I think this game is going to be low scoring. It's going to be good. It'll be a really good game, but I'm not getting into too much of this. Devontae Adams is going to look like. He's going to project to be a good one-off for sure. And I know Baltimore's defense is maybe as good as it once was, but I don't know. I think it's a tough spot, man, to go into Baltimore like that. Not that Aaron Rodgers hasn't seen everything in his career, but I don't know. It'll be probably a good game to watch. Probably not going to stack either of the pieces from this game.
Yes, this is an interesting one, and whether I'm not going to not without looking at the weather, which is something I like to do later in the week because it always fluctuates. I think that this is actually a really stackable game that I really like the over on actually.
Okay.
And I think you could do it a number of different ways. I don't know if I want to mess with the running game from Green Bay. It just feels kind of thin to try and force any of that stuff in. Devontae Freeman, has been getting more of the role for Baltimore. And then, but overall, I think I want like more of the passing game, which is weird. I'm really worried about Lamar Jackson in general. Like since the second COVID, he said they've been having breathing problems. He's been out with illnesses. He's been getting hurt. He just doesn't seem right. But if he ends up low owned for any reason, that's just a great spot. And you could play it with Adams on the run back. You could play it with another guy who's starting to get more and more looks, who everybody always says that Rodgers likes, and it's Lazard, or MVS even. But I think Lazard or Adams would be where I would go. And I like Lamar to Rashad Bateman or Marquise Brown. I don't mind whichever one you want to choose, or Mark Andrews, but I do like the other tight ends a little better than I like Andrews this week. So I might go with Bateman or Brown, or just play Lamar naked and then run it back with Devontae. I do think this is going to be a game that could be putting up a lot more points than it's giving credit for. And we've seen Green Bay in some sort of, they was there 75 in total in the last game. They had the big game against the Rams before was 60 something. I could see this game hitting the over pretty easily. Green Bay has been unbelievable against the spread, and they're 5-point favorites, but I feel like this is the spot where they lose, or at least Baltimore covers. I like Baltimore, and I like the game to hit the over.
So you're the Seattle, the Rams whisperer, the Seattle Rams whisperer. Here's just my take on it. First of all, really, really nice win by the Rams last week. With what they had to deal with. They had, they're missing strength up the middle, right? They're missing their running back. They're missing Jalen Ramsey. But I hate to say it because you came from the Giants originally, but they thought the Antonio Brown thing was like an incredible steal in hindsight by the Bucs, but if and when the Rams are hosting the freaking Super Bowl trophy, Odell Beckham could end up being like a super genius move, like looking back,
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Seattle is, played a little bit. I think, I mean,
we
I
have
think
no Beckham this week, though, right?
What's that?
I think we have no Beckham this week.
No, but he was, I don't mean this particular week. I mean,
Yeah. He was good last time out. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think the Rams just stick it to them. Yeah, I just do. I know that Seattle can play them tough. I know that Wilson can bring it sometimes, but I mean, is Ramsey going to be back? I mean, I think I don't know. I do like the Rams. I like what's his name? Stafford. I like Jefferson. I like what's his name? I like Kupp. I mean, dude, what does this guy got to do? I mean,
I know, seriously, it's crazy.
It's a chicken and the egg thing. Like is a receiver like that so good because they scheme incredible plays for him, or do they scheme incredible plays for him because he's that good? You know what I mean? What's the difference? Right. We used to say this about Jerry Rice back when he was freaking playing.
Right.
Oh, Jerry Rice, he catches everything because they scheme everything. Well, okay, but because they know that he's going to run the routes perfectly and separate when he catches the ball. And that's what Kupp's been doing. I mean, he's running routes completely perfectly, and he's been separating, and he's done literally nothing wrong the whole season. Even that one game, like he was whatever 9K, and then at halftime he had like 0 fantasy points, and like a bunch of people like, oh, what happened to him? Did he retire? By the end of the game, he had 30. You know what I mean? Like it was ridiculous. Right. So especially with Beckham out. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but it's kind of hard to not play him in 9K. I mean, I don't know. They're just going to feed him the ball. That's where I'm at. I look, and if you want to play the Rams, look, certainly you would want to run it back with something. So Metcalf, Lockett certainly makes sense. And that's my opinion. I want to play the Rams. I don't think Seattle can stop them. I just don't. And I think the Rams are going to put up points, and I think that Seattle is going to have to fight back somehow. So it's going to be, I have to probably run it back with either Lockett or Metcalf.
Yeah, I get it. I actually think this is another game that I'm interested in stacking also. I actually think Seattle, I think it's a very small hope, but if they win out and they're playing like the team that actually wants to win, I mean, they seem more fired up. Wilson's played better than I thought he was going to. They have been trying to run the ball. I don't think they'll be successful against the Rams in running the ball. If that's the case, Lockett and Metcalf, especially Metcalf this week. I liked Lockett last week, and I liked Metcalf a little bit, even though he didn't do much. But I liked Lockett last week, and this week I think is the Metcalf week, especially depending on the health of Jalen Ramsey. And even if you have Jalen Ramsey, I could still see Metcalf one-on-one matches. He can crush anybody. And Kupp and Jefferson are both interesting to me. I am definitely heavier on the Seattle side, though. If I was going to play the passing game, I would want to play Wilson over Stafford in this one.
Yeah, and then I think he'd be back off COVID. I think he's a good play tight end as well.
I agree, and you might have the super value if you are stacking the Rams side of it, would be Ben Skornak. He's a minimum cost receiver who's sort of filling their third receiver role, which used to be Jan Jefferson's, but you can play him with Jefferson or Kupp in those stacks, or Higbee or whatever, just to get like a super. It's kind of interesting actually. You could play Skornak and Higbee with Stafford, like an unowned Metcalf on the other side, and literally pay up for all the other guys we wanted it to. Even play it for Kupp. You can play 3 receivers from some team if two of them cost $7K combined. So actually, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll do something like that actually.
The running back position is kind of.
It's not the obvious running back week, right?
Yeah.
It's been very obvious every week, and it's not that week. Who's the best projected is Michael Carter? That could easily fail. Anyway, but so just for my side of it to sum up, I've got the Seattle LA game, the Green Bay Baltimore, then the Buffalo skinny stack, the Dallas skinny stack. Favorite individual plays are Connor, Goddard, Robinson, Metcalf, Julio Jones. Those are the first guy. Oh, and George Kittle. Those are my priorities along with my priority games.
All right, we'll have some fun. Okay, here's the fun. I'm just going to tell you in advance. I'm going to be playing 40 lineups in the Million Maker this week. That's what I've been doing.
Okay.
And I'll tell you guys what I'm going to do, because I have to lay it down. Otherwise, this way I won't forget. If I don't have at least 10 lineups, 25%, okay, 10 lineups with the Jacksonville Houston game stack, it's $500 bounty.
Okay?
So
Okay. Holding yourself
only
accountable.
one person gets it. It's not for everybody.
I love it. All right.
So that's what people have to look and see, whatever it is. So I'm gonna have to remind myself of this because I'm but listen, listen, not that I've been dissatisfied with my football, I've been winning, but I just feel as though I haven't taken a shot with something that can actually win me the Millie Maker yet. So that's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be 10 lineups of the 40 that have that Jacksonville nonsense in it. And
I love it.
That's just the way it's gonna be. In worst case, what do I lose? $250? So
Yeah.
that's what's gonna be.
All right, I love that call. I'll have my hotter takes probably for the roadie show because I want to wait till something else. I know we're going to hear about so many things that we haven't heard about yet, so I'll wait till my hot takes for that one. Anyway, guys, Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
Nope.
All right, guys, good luck to everybody today. Let's crush it in NFL this weekend, and hope we have another great week, week 15. Good luck, everybody.
I'll see you at 6.